Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sketch Club. My name is Jason Meyer, and why, yes, I am flying solo tonight. I know it's always better looking with the two girls here, but you get what you get, and you don't get upset, is what Pinkalicious taught Izzy anyway. That's what Pinkalicious says. Miss Sue, how are you? How are you? Did you guys get to do some sketching, some painting today? I was up at the studio getting some new material. I hope. Haven't really even had a chance to look at it yet. So, good day. Flew in, got in just about 6 o'clock. So, right on time. All right, so you guys ready to do a little sketching tonight? So, tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with what we started on Sunday. And I wanted to do this because you'll see when we start the sketch that my figurine's a little stretched out. He's a little tall rather than, a little short. And so I thought I would show you how I would continue the drawing, but develop and fix those things as I go. Okay, and then if I had my way where I finished tonight, I'd like to kind of muck that up just a little bit, then go in there a little bit more artistically with some ins and outs and accents and de-accents. Is that a name? De-accent? It is now. Miss Shakti made it. Hello, hello, hello. All right, guys. So we got a half hour of sketching. Why don't we get to it? Mr. Randy, how you doing, bud? I like your eye. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Izzy's at volleyball tonight. At volleyball. So that is her thing now. Dance and volleyball. So what you're going to see me is I'm going to start where I finished on Sunday night. So I worked on this a half hour. And if you look, you can see he feels a little stretched out, a little bit tall. So we're going to fix that a little bit. But first off, I'm going to get all that blank paint paper off of here. So that's going to give us more of a sense of focus. And until you see how I just go straight over the figurine. Just to get things quieted down a bit. Get these dang kids quieted down a bit. How you been, my man? You ready to open back up? You opened back up? You all good to go? We're getting close. We're getting close. I'm in my waiting period. 2 doses down. And about... Wait, where am I? What is this, Tuesday? Man, just about a week to go. Oof, oof, oof. Closer than I even thought. All right, so you can see as I went over that with the Vine charcoal that the image and everything's still there, but everything just got a little quieter. The thing to remember is a lot of times the soft things, the lost edges, the soft edges, those are some of the harder things to get, at least in oil painting. And charcoal, but it's always easier to get a hard edge or a big change. A nice subtle glide or gradation though. Got us. All right, so I'm clear for takeoff next Wednesday. So says the boss. If the boss says so, so be it. So be it. So Tuesday, so a week and 1 day. 1 week and 1 day. And so, although it looks like it's, oh, he's doing nothing. I'm paying attention to the effect. And even more than that, I'm just kind of warming up my touch. Right? Getting in touch with the drawing and the painting. Because it's really hard to stay super focused for very long. Like saying really focus for 30 minutes. That's a big ask. So we need times where we warm up and we're a little more relaxed. We can never take the day off. We got to be here those whole 30 minutes. But we want to wait till we're feeling saucy before we get in there and start committing to too much. All right? Give yourself a chance to stretch and warm up and feel. All right? Don't just go sprinting onto the field. And then the other thing is, you don't want it to be precious. And kind of going over it, smudging things out, you take that preciousness away. So now I can almost start from scratch. Right? Almost like I have a lay-in here, and then I can, maybe that should be a little bit over this way. Maybe it should be a little bit higher. Boom, boom, right? I can make those slight adjustments as I make another attempt. So I look pretty bright as I erase that charcoal off of there. Just the tone of the paper. Just the tone of the paper. Why do you think I started on the neck and the chest rather than the head or the feet? Well, with the chest, then I can make slight adjustments to the head and slight adjustments to the box. But if I start with the head, then you're working one, and the longer that line is, the more likely it is to get off. So by starting more in the middle of the more important little parts there, it gives me more freedom to adjust the drawing without having to, if I do adjust it a decent amount, having to really redo everything else. I'll just have to do the bottom a little bit and maybe the top a little bit. So in a real sense, this is just like the first time. I find my way through there. Get a chance to see if I like what I did or don't like what I did. Redo. In street sports growing up, when we used to play ball in the streets, we got redo or do-over. Oh, there's many hours spent on whether you got to do over or don't do over. Remember right, most of those games devolved at that point. So we get to do over. We don't have to argue with anybody about it. Well, nobody but yourself. Nobody but yourself. Notice how I really do use the eraser as a tool. And a lot of times I'm not moving my wrist, just moving my shoulder, unless they're little bitty moves or something. You'll see me trick the wrist. But other times I'm holding my wrist still and moving from my shoulder. Things can get a little bit more even that way. This starts to turn pretty quick. You see, as I move from my wrist, I'm flicking the page, or I'd be turning. But if I move from my shoulder, I can stay in contact for as long as I need to, or for as long as my shoulder will go anyway. So what you're seeing me do tonight is the kind of the shoring up, quote unquote, the mapping. Right? And then for my taste, I'd like to go one step beyond that and turn it into something a little bit more artistic. Something with a little bit more flavor. A little bit more flavor. I'm going to change the back of this pretty drastically. So instead of really stretching or pulling that drawing up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically keep where it is, but I'm going to widen it, make it wider, and that will adjust the dimensions in a more fitting measure. Right, so if you're doing this yourself, right, we got to show that that box is straight and that his chest is round. How are you going to do that? And we'd also like to see him looking up, right? Rather than this, he's doing this. So what that does is it stretches this. Rather than this, you see, it's more of a spring. More action. More action. Uh-oh. Claudia says she's talking to us and we're not seeing it. What's going on with that? Anybody else can type their way through? Or have we lost everybody? I don't know, maybe if Cindy can hear me, maybe Cindy. I don't see any comments from Claudia either. Huh. Well, she says she's at home and she's typing comments. Are you giving me a pop quiz? Are you giving me a pop quiz? Yeah, I can read it. Thanks for helping out. And then Cindy, I think Cindy's on it too. So she's usually more of a help anyway than I am. Anybody who's been around a while learns that it's usually quicker to ask Cindy first. Sue can get here, huh? All right, Claudia. Well, I hope we get it figured out. Well, we're glad you're here. You can see us and hear us. And I hope you're saying nice things to whoever's getting those words you're typing. So for any of you guys who don't have a little experience or stuff, you know, this base that the figurine is sitting on, things like that can be a little more difficult than you might first imagine, because you've got to get the perspective of that ellipse right. So even if my things are a little bit off here and there, I don't worry about it too much, as long as it reads true. And on top of that, sometimes I've got to wait till I have another tool in my hand before I can really fix it. So, but if your ellipses or your bases don't look quite right, don't get discouraged. That's something that does take a bit of practice. Yeah, Facebook is on. So she's lost. So maybe she's watching a rerun on YouTube or something. I don't know. I don't know. And then what would be the reason for lightening up behind him? Well, so that that shadow becomes a little bit more visible. Just like the light up top, if we want to see the light, we've got to have dark on each side of it. Well, if we want to see that shadow on the figurine, we're going to have light on each side of it. All right? Light makes dark visible, dark makes light visible. Miss Sue, I'm sure Cindy sent out, but I got to look at your sunset this morning and morning jump start. So I hope you were able to find that. Get that. And we will have one more morning jump start, and that'll be the last one for this go around, guys. Friday, we're really going to look at your stuff and more celebrate than critique. So if you've got questions, get those babies in so we can deal with them tomorrow morning. And then you have a couple days till Friday to see how far you can get on it. Not sure I'm going to be able to work on mine until after Friday. We'll see. We'll see. But get as far as you can. And then the plan still is, I hope, if everybody's in with it, every 3 or 4 months to have a finishing month. So if you get close but not quite finished, well, maybe that'll go into be finished pile. It's good to have a few things in that to be finished pile. Alright, so here I'm getting back to my evil ways, my drawing errors. I want to see if I can fix those now. Right, and those drawing errors are just basically the shape and size of the shadow, the shape and size of the light. So if they're not quite right, well, all you do is adjust them, make them right. Right? Don't be locked into what marks are already on the canvas. Right? Be a boss. Be a boss. You own that sketch pad. You own that charcoal. Boom. You are the boss. Hey, Miss Claudia. Now we see ya. Now we see ya. Glad you're back. Hope you had a great visit with your family. Claudia got to see grandchildren for the first time in, oof, how long? Too long. The first time in too long. Why don't we just call it that? And I think we can all agree it was just too long. So I hope you had a great time with everybody, Claudia, and we're glad to have you back. So this is the part 2 from Sunday night. Oh, good. I figured. You never know for sure, but it'd be hard not to have a wonderful time, I think. Very hard, so. Did they look exactly the same or are they completely different? Probably look completely different. Hopefully not as different as Izzy's gotten this last year, but she's been back at school and she's been in the office a few times, and every time she's in the office, they don't recognize her. They didn't. They're like, "Oh my God, it's Izzy." So, she's taller than most of the teachers, taller than a lot of the parents. So I think your grandkids are a little bit older, though, so maybe they're not changing quite so fast. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so you see that shadow? I'm slowing down, but that defines the arm. Oof. Oh my God. Same. 6'3" and 2. That's wow. Can you call that a grandchild? Is that allowed to call something that big a grandchild? Wow. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got to see him. That's awesome. That's so awesome. So one of the things I hope you notice here is that my number 4 value, my shadow, know how I evened it out. It wasn't even when I started, but slowly, not in a hurry, I'm trying to even out all the shadows until they read as the same value. And that way the viewer doesn't have to decipher as much. It reads more cleanly, more clearly. Oh, wonderful. So Sue gets to work on the sunset tomorrow. Wonderful, Sue. And yeah, we're all happy for Claudia. Yay, yay, yay. I can just see that perma grin on Claudia's face right now. Bend over to... Oh, he's got to swoop down. Oof. Sounds like you need him this summer for some chores. Sounds like he's the one to bring up for some chores. I know, probably a little busy for that. But he seems the right size. Seems the right size. Back to painting tomorrow. Okay. All right. Well, if you need any help, there's lots of morning jump start and stuff. Help you out if you're doing. I can't remember if you're on the lilacs or not. My head's a little dizzy with so many paintings. Need a little refresher. And notice how I left little fingers, the top of his hands wrapped around the box. See how I did that with the light? I just ever so slightly wrapped. Little things like that will really matter. And again, I don't try. Get it in first, and then give yourself a break, and then when you come back, go, okay, how is that? Is it too long, too short, too curvy, too straight, too Rick James? What is it? What is it? Gotta know these things. So for any of you who aren't familiar, I think most of my students are pretty familiar with the planes, meaning the direction something's facing. I've got all kinds of light sources in here, so it's not going to really work. If it's facing this way versus, see how that's not as light? That's lighter. Now what if I turn that, now that's shadow. So what we're doing is, instead of dividing things into things, we're saying, okay, this is facing this way, and that's facing that way, and that, so those are all the same, and then the things that are facing this way and facing this way and facing this way, those will be the same. And then anything facing under, we're going to call that the same. So that's the language of mass, or some of the logic of the language of mass, I should say. We gotta be careful with our words, even when you use crazy language. Right? Careful enough that, you guys understand what I'm saying and don't get confused. Because there is a sort of logic to it, but it's more of a poetic logic rather than a mathematical logic. If you try to make it too mathematical, too quote-unquote precise, things will get a little stiff on you. Things will get a little bit stiff. And at least one of the things I always try to get in my work is life, a sense of life. I think that what separates the great work from all the others is no matter what style it is, there's a real sense of life in it. Lilacs and... Lilac. Why is that Jason style? Lilacs and craziness. All right, I guess I earned that. With my blood, sweat, and metaphor and analogies. Is that how I earned that title? I'm good with it. So I'm trying to add a little bit of curve up there at the top to differentiate the difference between his chest and the box he's holding. We want that box to be square and his chest to be round. You do some pretty beautiful things yourself, Miss Claudia. Pretty beautiful things yourself. If the girls were here, I could give you a snort, but it's harder to snort on my own. I do it sometimes. Not impossible, but... So I was just emptying the charcoal dust off the paper into the trash. Now let's see. So I recorded this on Saturday. So I don't even remember how I finished this up. This is going to be a surprise to me as well as to you. But I guess I can't glance over and look at the finish. Right, so you see how I blew past that previous highlight? How much bigger the cap is now? And that helps quite a bit too. What are you saying, Randy? Am I drawing boring you? You need a snort to make it worth it? Well, you have to give me a good joke. I just can't snort on command. That's not how that works. I'm not you. I'm not an actor. You pros make it easy. Right, again, those lines now I'm taking down and merging into tones. You got it. You're a demanding bunch. Oh my goodness. All right, we'll see if I can't get myself worked up. No promises. Look, she's relentless. Just putting the pressure on. Oh my goodness. We missed you, Claudia. We missed you. So yeah, and look at me get these angles wrong. Feeling that 2-minute crunch. What's wrong with your box, Jason? Well, I'm a better painter than I am builder. What can I say? I don't know. I tried a couple of times for carpentry. They either didn't keep me around long enough or I didn't want to stay around long enough. So that's how that ended. Probably for the best. I'm too delicate for all that hard work. I'm too delicate for that. Speaking of delicate, oof. If you get these edges too hard on the face, what does that do for you? Don't do nothing. Don't do nothing. I'm trying to get the top plane of the hat there. No, I wasn't. I was trying to carve that hat out. I hope that's what I was doing. Oof, 1 minute. I gotta be feeling the pressure. Gotta be feeling the pressure. You gotta keep your cool though. You gotta keep your cool. You don't keep your cool, you end up making marks like I'm making right now. Oof. Oof. Take your drawing out in the last minute. Don't want to do that. So let's hope Jason doesn't do that. I hope he doesn't do that here. Ooh, I almost feel sorry for the guy at this point. 20 seconds. What kind of bind did he get himself into? Poor time management. That's what they'd say in chess. Poor time management. Oh, and once again, my nemesis, time, steps in. So how did you guys do? How did you guys do? Let's see what I did here. Was there too much smudging on the front end? Got me on a bind in the back end? A lot of freedom. That was a nice start. Probably should have slowed down with that there. But feeling the time crunch. And again, I'm trying to reestablish those big shapes. Those big proportions. Right? And I'm more concerned about those big proportions right now than I am any little detail. Any little detail. Ah, Claudia, you're the best. You're the best, kiddo. Alright, and then after you have the big proportions, we want to come in and make sure we've got our values separated out again. And then we want to try to tend to our edges and some highlights if we have the time. Even some of those tones out. Right? The fineness, the finish, the finer stuff, that takes a lot of time. Takes time. So for that time, that's what I got. How did you guys do? Did you guys do okay? Wasn't so easy. Is that kind of surprisingly difficult? For something that looks a little simple? You get a few of those relationships going, boof, 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 boof. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for tonight. So what do we got? We're going to finish the week tomorrow morning, the public week anyway, free public week with morning jump start. And then we'll be back Friday to see what you guys have done for class. And we'll be back Sunday night right here on Facebook for some more Sketch Club. So, if you're not any big movies or commercials, Randy, I hope you'll join us again. But if you're on set, boom, do your thing. All right, everybody. Loved all of you. Thank you for the hard work.